The observation deck of Station Krell 9 hummed with its usual mid-cycle activity when Tyrion first noticed something wrong with the human. The young Velkin cub had been watching Rhea for weeks now, fascinated by the strange bipedal creature who worked in the engineering bay. Humans were rare this far into Galactic Coalition space, legendary. Even, Tyrion had heard the stories whispered among the adults. Humans who'd fought off Corinthian boarding parties with nothing but maintenance tools, humans who'd survived vacuum exposure long enough to seal hull breaches with their bare hands. Humans who simply refused to die when any rational species would have succumbed. But today, Rhea was limping. Tyrion's fur bristled with concern as he watched the human drag her right leg slightly, her usual fluid gait disrupted by an obvious injury. The cub's 4 eyes widened. Humans didn't show weakness. Everyone knew that. If Rhea was limping badly enough for even a cub to notice, something catastrophic must have happened. Without thinking, Tyrion bounded toward the nearest comm station and slapped the emergency alert with his paw. Within minutes, the entire command structure of Station Krell 9 had mobilized. Commander Zekthor, a towering Quellan with scales that shimmered like oil on water, stormed into the central hub with his elite guard flanking him. "Report. Which sector was compromised?" "Sir," the communications officer stammered, her tentacles coiling nervously. "The alert came from Observation Deck 7. A witness reported the human engineer exhibiting signs of severe physical trauma." Zekthor's crest flared red. A human injured on his station. The implications were staggering. Humans had pain tolerances that exceeded most species' lethal thresholds. They possessed redundant systems, regenerative capabilities, and an almost supernatural stubbornness about remaining functional. For a human to show visible signs of injury meant they were likely operating at what would be considered 15–20% capacity for any other species, which meant whatever had hurt Rhea was still out there. "Lock down all sections," Zekthor commanded. "I want security sweeps on every deck. Find out what breached our defenses and neutralized our human." The elite guards scattered, weapons charging, claws extending. Station-wide alarms began to wail. Rhea was 3 corridors away from the engineering bay when the lockdown sirens started screaming. "Oh, for the love of," she muttered, stopping mid-stride as blast doors began slamming shut throughout the station. Emergency lighting bathed everything in harsh red. Her comm unit exploded with frantic chatter. "All personnel, seek immediate shelter. Potential hostile presence on station." Rhea blinked. Hostile presence? She'd been working on the plasma conduits all morning, and the most hostile thing she'd encountered was a particularly stubborn bolt that had refused to budge until she'd applied what her old mentor called percussive maintenance. Her comm crackled. "Human Rhea, what is your status? Are you ambulatory? Can you reach a secured location?" It was Commander Zekthor himself, his usually composed voice tight with barely controlled alarm. "Commander?" "Fine." Zekthor's voice rose an octave. "You are not fine. We have visual confirmation of compromised locomotive function. Where is the threat? What attacked you?" Rhea's eyebrows climbed toward her hairline. "Attacked? Sir? Nothing. Attacked me. I'm just Elite Guard Omega. Converge on the human's position. Medical team, prepare for emergency xenophysiology protocols." The corridor ahead of Rhea filled with armed Quellan guards, weapons raised, scanning for threats. Behind her, a medical team rushed forward with equipment designed for everything from poison extraction to limb reattachment. "Everyone, stop!" Rhea shouted, raising her hands. The procession froze. Commander Zekthor pushed through his guards, his scales shifting to a concerned purple. He approached Rhea with the caution typically reserved for approaching armed explosives. "Human Rhea, please remain calm. We're here to help. Tell us what happened." Rhea looked around at the dozen armed guards, the medical team, the sealed blast doors, and the station-wide alert that was probably terrifying every civilian on board. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "Commander." I stubbed my toe. Silence crashed through the corridor like a physical force. You stubbed your toe? Zekthor repeated slowly, his translator seemingly struggling with the concept. This morning, on the support beam in Section 12. It really hurt. So, I've been walking a bit carefully. Rhea demonstrated by walking normally for a few steps, then wincing slightly, and favoring her right foot. See? It's just a bruised toe. Happens all the time. The medical officer, a six-armed Thessian, moved her scanner over Rhea's foot. Commander, I'm detecting minor tissue inflammation in the human's smallest locomotive digit. No structural damage, no toxins, no foreign entities, no threats of any kind. Zekthor's scales cycled through several colors that Rhea had learned to interpret as profound confusion mixed with embarrassment. A. Bruised. Toe. You initiated emergency protocols for an entire coalition station because of a bruised toe? The question wasn't directed at Rhea. Every head turned toward the observation deck, where a small Velcan cub was slowly trying to sink into the deck plating. Tyrion had never felt smaller in his entire young life. Commander Zekthor towered over him, scales shifting to a stern gray. Cub Tyrion, you understand the severity of false emergency alerts? I'm sorry, Commander, Tyrion squeaked. I saw the human limping, and I thought, everyone says humans don't get hurt unless it's really bad. And I thought she was dying. And, Tyrion, the voice was gentle. Rhea had crouched down to the cub's level, smiling. That was actually really sweet of you. You were trying to help, but I caused all this trouble, Tyrion whispered, his ears drooping. Rhea ruffled the fur between his ears. You cared enough to act when you thought someone was in danger. That's not trouble, that's exactly what makes a good guard. Commander Zekthor's scales softened to a warmer amber. The human is correct. Your instincts were sound, cub. Your knowledge base simply needs refinement. He glanced at Rhea. Perhaps our human engineer could provide some educational material on typical human injury responses? Rhea laughed. Sure. Lesson 1. Humans are tough. But we're not invincible. We stub our toes. We get paper cuts. We pull muscles doing stupid things. We just complain less about it than most species. Paper cuts? The medical officer asked, genuine horror in her voice. Your paper is sharp enough to cut you? Oh boy, Rhea sighed. This is going to be a long explanation. As the station's alert status downgraded and normal operations resumed, Rhea found herself in the observation deck with Tyrion, explaining the mundane reality of human durability to a crowd of increasingly fascinated aliens. Yes, humans could survive incredible trauma. Yes, they could push through injuries that would incapacitate other species, but they also got hiccups, headaches, and sore muscles from sleeping wrong. They were simultaneously the toughest and most annoyingly fragile species in the galaxy, and somehow, that made them even more remarkable. Tyrion listened to every word, his 4 eyes wide with wonder. When Rhea finished, the cub looked up at her with something like awe. Humans are strange, he declared. Rhea grinned. You have no idea, kid.